And now to chapter 2, everybody counts, how to get to the right mindset. So even though we've said on several occasions that Lean is not a department, it's not a project, but implementing Lean and getting everybody on board still demands that you have a strategy. You need to have made a plan, a proper plan, a long-ranging plan on how to introduce all these learnings, all these tools, and especially the culture to the whole workplace. And as I said, that does not happen by accident. It does not happen without a strategy and a plan. And here you see an example, a proposal of a to-do list. It could look in a different way also, but basically these things need to be considered. So as we said over and over again, you need to commit the whole organization, because both Lean and continuous improvement, they belong to everybody. You need to make Kaizen routine to everybody. Kaizen is the same thing as continuous improvement, and we'll get more in detail to that in just a little while. One example, one proposal could be that in everybody's job description there would be a chapter or a paragraph dealing with Lean. So it is really closely tied up to what everybody is doing on their daily in their daily job. You have to show to everybody what is going on and what has happened and what others have achieved and so on and so on. So you need to use visualization in this aspect also. And then it's communicating and being as transparent as possible to let people know both about successes and failures also, or failures, challenges, things that need to be rerun, so to say, and to be patient. These things often happen, as I've said before also. Everybody gets very excited for a short period of time, and you talk about it a lot, and there are results and workshops and so on and so on. But then there will come a time when it goes down, the energy goes down, the achievements aren't that big, and that is really when you need to keep going and repeating and being patient and talking about it over and over again. And to just to rephrase it once more, it's everybody's job, it's everybody's mindset, otherwise you won't succeed in this. So the bottom line here also, and once again, is about making this a culture change. And now we come to Kaizen, the word Kaizen that I've used on a few occasions. Kaizen is Japanese, once again, and it should, as far as I have learned, means something like change good. Change is good. And it can be translated as continuous improvement or continual improvement, as it is written here. So Kaizen is really the culture of continuous improvement. It's the small stepwise incremental movements towards the right direction, towards the right direction being the perfect world that we never can reach. So here is the list of things of what Kaizen consists of, and you recognize the majority, if not all of them already. It's the small incremental everyday changes of anything. It's the ongoing activity by all people. I'm talking a lot about the workforce, but it's of course also for the managers on all levels, and making experiments. And doing small changes incrementally. Challenge everything is one of the phrases that Toyota uses also. That's really, it doesn't mean that you have to be unpleasant and really question everything all the time, but it means that don't take anything as being this is so it has to be. Ask questions. Ask, could we omit this one? Could we add this one? Could we do it in a bit different way? And test, because that's what it is. It's experimenting, testing, finding root causes, making problems visible. It's improvement by doing. One practice that is quite commonly used in workplaces and environments that work with Lean is what is called continuous improvement boards, or CI boards. And it's really a way of visual management for the team, because this is often done in small working groups or smallish. It's a board, often just on a whiteboard with either post-its or other sort of notes, where you have a column for ideas, a column for just do it, you don't need to think more about it, just do it. Then there's a column of ideas that are so big or so complicated that you need some sort of authorization from management or some other teams maybe, because it's part of their work as well. And then there is often a column for parked ideas that for some reason or another are parked for the time being or maybe forever. And in many teams, this is part of their weekly meetings. So, for example, in the beginning or in the end of the meeting, you take 10 minutes by the board and go through the ideas that are there, if they have moved, if they have been parked, if there are new ideas. And one interesting column is this just do it column. And this is ideas that you maybe come up with something, why don't we do it like this and that? And you, instead of just going about doing it without talking to anybody, a good idea would be to bring it up to the team, and then if it isn't too complicated, doesn't need to be authorized by anybody else, then you just do it. But the team still is aware of it. You don't go on changing things without making everybody aware of it. And of course, this way of working, once again, is part of the Lean philosophy of team building, shared ownership, delegation, taking responsibility, and trusting in each other. Then there is a development of Kaizen. It's called Kaizenblists, and blists come from the German word of lightning or also sudden military attack. You might recognize the word from Second World War. Blist, or plural is for blists. And this is, as I said, a development of Kaizen. It's a bit more laborious and a bit more further development of the small continuous incremental things that you just go about and doing. Maybe if the problem is a bit bigger, then it can be solved by the continuous improvement board or just doing it. Then you might want to make a smallish project out of it, and this project means that you will gather a group of people with expert knowledge on this problem area, and they will basically spend a day, 2 days, a week somewhere with doing nothing else than solving this problem. And the arrangement around this list is a bit more structurized than just discussing about it. So there are several good things with doing problem solving in this sort of list format, and that is, for example, one of them is that it concentrates and it focuses on the specific problem or situation in a very clear way, and because you bring together the staff of all sort who are expected to have knowledge or expertise and experience of the problem that you are solving, you get a very good brain power, so to say. And another thing is also that because you mix people from different parts of the organization or with different expertise in solving the same problem, it also eases up the intellectual resistance that we often have if somebody else comes with a proposal. You are part of solving the problem. It's a lot easier to accept the solution as well. The execution is very dramatic. You maybe take an off-site week somewhere and aren't allowed to do anything else than this one with the team of people. It's often a lot of fun. There are a lot of quick thinking people penetrating into a problem area together, and there's often, always, in my experience, a lot of enthusiasm and satisfaction in being allowed and able to do this. And also what you get from these sort of Plixt experiences is that, especially in the early days of lean implementation, you get fast results that you can show not only to the team participating in this, but to the whole management and the whole organization. Say, see what we could do, see how clever we were, or not clever, but we could do this great thing with focusing on this area for a few days only. Then there are negative effects, as they always are. It might be, for example, that when you take part of the workforce and to solve part of a bigger thing, you might not be able to always to consider how this solution will affect the whole all the processes in the workplace. So there might be some discrepancies in the solutions that the team comes up with. And then some people might even think that the event is too fast. Maybe it's just for a day and you have to come up with something for a day, that it's too fast. You can't really think that fast and come into good enough solutions. So the Plixt consists of three phases, really. So there is a preparatory phase also, and this is very important. So you don't just jump into it; you have to prepare for it also. So you have to begin with, you have to know what the issue is that you need to solve and scope it clearly, so that you know where it ends and where it starts and what is in it and what is out. And you of course need to find the team, and this is also very critical and important. You have to be able to point and invite the people who really are needed for this. And here also, in my experience, it's good to be sort of broad and open-minded, not necessarily only invite the people who are in the mid spot of this problem, but also somebody who is a bit outside, but who might have very good input or different ideas on how to proceed. Then you also need to gather current data. So you need to have facts and figures and data on what the situation is today, and what is it that we want to make better, what is it we want to solve. It's not just that I think there is this and that. It has to be based on facts. And then you organize a kickoff for the team. And then during the event, you review the current state, the facts and figures that were gathered before. You identify the key issues. There probably is several that relate to this. You start creating solutions. You need to create many of them, and then you have to somehow test, simulate, or how you want to do it there and then. Which one of them, or which maybe several, should be ones that need to test in the real life. And then you have to get approval because then this sort of events need to have a sponsor from the management somewhere. Who you can't just do it and then go, and you have to have somebody who is buying, who is on your side, but also still critical enough to be able to say, no, this is totally crazy, or what is it she or he might say. And then there's the implementation phase, that the team is the one who is to implement the changes that they have discovered during this event, and they are getting help from the sponsor to make it happen. And then there is an evaluation, of course, also if this really was better than the previous one. So here's an example that I want to share with you with one of the Kaizen events that I have participated in. And this was from one of the drug discovery companies that I worked with. And there was an ion channel project with very, very validated target, and everybody really wanted to do this project. But the chemistry was very, very difficult. They had really great problems in finding compounds that were, for one reason or another, good enough. And they had been trying for more than 10 years. And other companies as well, so nobody had succeeded in it. the problem was not finding high enough potency in these compounds, but they had different pharmaceutical properties that weren't good enough there. So there was oftentimes solubility or absorption problems. So the management still didn't want to give up on this because it was such a high validated and good target. So what did we do? Yes, we had I think it was a 3-day Kaizen event in another location, and the group was maybe 20, 15 of people, chemists, not only the same, absolutely not the chemists that had been working with it for 10 years. Well, a few of them were there as well, but chemists with totally different experience and from other projects and so on, and also people from assay development, because that was a question also that was asked: are we testing it with the right sort of biological assay, and other people with knowledge, for example, to solubility and so on and so on. So there was a event made up on the way as I described on the previous slide, and which ended up with a lot of brainstorming, crazy ideas, or less crazy but new still, of how we could approach this, how they could approach this, and so there were several solutions that then were tested later on, either in-house, people did them in the company themselves, or then maybe there were new technologies, new ways of seeing that could be tested with partners or outsourced. Here's an illustration of a way of doing continuous improvements projects and other improvements efforts that is very common in lean world, and it's called PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act. Sometimes you can also talk about it as problem finding, displaying, clearing, and acknowledging. But a PDCA, you probably have heard of it before, because it's a way of that helps you to structurize the way one goes about to solving problems. And it's an iterative, and this is one of the main points. You are iterating it, doing it over and over again, and it has 4 steps, and it has a lot of other names. The original name was called the Steward cycle, because it was actually developed as a 3-step model by a quality control statistician called Steward. And then later on, Deming, if you remember Deming, about facts and sigma thinking, developed into its present form. So it's sometimes called Deming cycle, also sometimes it's just called a wheel or a cycle, and it's often used problem solving structure in many environments. And as I said, it's an iterative process, and it's very much lean in such a way that it means that you have a hypothesis, you have an idea, and you go and test it, and then you check what sort of results you get, and then you tell it or discuss it with the management, and then you make new plans. So it's an iterative process that by iterating the ideas over and over again, in the end leads to it aims to lead to the problem being solved. In Toyota, it is also believed or considered to be part of this developing people, developing critical thinking, and they have this slogan where they say that they are building people before building cars, for example, with this PDCA cycle. And then just my final words, repetitive words for this chapter, and then that is a reminder that Kaizen and continuous improvement is different in such a way that it doesn't believe that we will ever reach the goal. So it is the improvement process is going forever. And the other thing is that as I've said so many times, but I feel that I would like to repeat it once again, that changing the culture of an organization, as to, for example, changing it into lean or continuous improvement, is notoriously difficult. There is a phase of enthusiasm and everybody wanting to do it, and then thereafter there often happens a relapse to the old one, and everybody just wants to forget about the new thing and say that was nothing, let's just do it as we always did. So the ones who really can make the difference, can make it happen, are the ones who are persistent enough, and bring it up over and over again, and don't give up in the phase where it doesn't sound like just such a good idea anymore.